the support is always there. Mabilis mag-respond ang mga experts, ang Sprout experts. So the 24 hours turnaround time, sometimes nasasagot na nila. And the follow through, that's the one that I actually appreciate the most, the follow through that they do. Excited ako with the AI LMS. It might be something na mas ma-excite ng mga employees. Siguro they would be able to focus more and be excited more on learning new stuff when they see a more colorful LMS. I do see updates with legal series. It makes my work easier na din if I need to communicate something with the employees. Parang nare-remind ako na, nga pala, meron pa palang ganito. Wait lang, I have to send it to our employees then. With the CSMs, very proactive sila on explaining kung ano yung mga bago na products ni Sprout, and again, with Sprout experts. Nagulat ako actually, it's bigger kasi I was expecting this event to be more intimate kagaya last year. That feels like Sprout is really growing in terms of the clients that you have acquired for the past few months. As always, the people with Sprout, very friendly. So far, the experience has been great. Siguro I'll be excited to have another clients night. It's more on focus sa connecting all of the existing clients that you have. Para at least we will be able to network then. So far sa Sprout, it's my second time joining. I was able to meet new people again, and every time naman I do attend yung Sprout events, there's a whole new learning. Kasi parang, meron pala sila niyan. So that's a nice, kumbaga, nice to have lagi, being able to attend the Sprout event.
What makes a great employer? Empathy is important. Employees aren't numbers on the balance sheet. They're people with dreams and aspirations, families, personal interests. You need to find ways to listen and get feedback and let them know their voices are heard and really matter. Great employers should also be forward-thinking and innovative. So you shouldn't be afraid of automation and AI. The goal is to make the work experience better for everyone.
And that's what makes a great employer.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this month's HR Experts webinar. I'm Paolo, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today's session, The Future of Performance Management Leveraging AI and Data for Real Impact. As we enter Q2, many HR leaders are looking for actionable items to boost performance, engagement, and retention. That's why today's topic is more timely than ever. We're diving into how AI and data can be your secret weapons in transforming talent management, from improving hiring velocity to creating dynamic growth paths for your people. Now, before we get started, a few housekeeping reminders. This webinar is being recorded and a copy will be shared with all attendees. If you have any questions for our speakers, please drop them in the Q&A box. We'll answer them live after both sessions. And don't leave early. We'll be sharing a thought leadership download at the end of the webinar that you won't want to miss. Now, let me tell you a little bit about the company behind HR Experts. Established in 2015, Sprout Solutions is the largest and most trusted homegrown B2B SaaS company in the Philippines. Now, on our 10th year and servicing clients both locally and across Southeast Asia, we continue to follow our North Star of impacting lives and improving businesses by helping organizations and their employees succeed through AI-enhanced HR, fintech, and business solutions. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker. He is the CEO and co-founder of PeopleBox AI, a platform that's revolutionizing how HR teams manage and acquire top talent. With deep experience in tech and business strategy, having held product leadership roles at Practo and co-founding AskMile, he brings a wealth of insight into how AI is reshaping the HR landscape. Please give a warm welcome to Abhinav Chugh.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the kind introduction. I look forward to speaking with you all very soon.
Go ahead, Abhinav.
Hello.
You can proceed.
Yeah. Shall I start my presentation?
Yes, go ahead.
Awesome. Just give me 1 second. Everyone, Paulo, first of all, thank you so much for the kind introduction. I'm super excited to be talking to everybody here. My name is Abhinav Chugh. Please call me Abhi. I'm the founder of PeopleBox.ai. We are a YC-backed startup, and I'm super excited to be spending the next 25 minutes talking to you about how AI and data is going to reshape the future of performance management. And most importantly, how HR leaders like you can get ahead of it. So a little bit about me. I spent the last few years building PeopleBox.ai. We are an AI talent platform to help company like yours connect business goals with talent management. One of the very interesting question that I often hear is that why is our logo like a pretzel? And the whole idea of the pretzel is to represent how the two most important foundation of the business, which is your business goals and performance goals, get connected. Our mission is very simple. How do we go and help organizations and HR leaders like yours hire, grow, and retain top talent? So we help companies align their business goals to their performance goals. We help them with run customized performance reviews and craft career development paths. We work with some 500 plus companies, and I have been personally speaking with all of their HR leaders across the globe in understanding their experience, expectations, and also fears about using AI. So let's try and make this more interactive. Here's a quick poll, and I would really love for you to share your candid thoughts in the comment section. Okay, I just want to understand and ask a very simple thing about what's the biggest challenge you face today in your performance management process. Feel free to pick the one that resonates the most, or you can just share another one. And I'll go deeper into that. So you have 30 seconds now. I'm start. 25 seconds. Anybody? I'm very keen to hear your thoughts about what is the biggest challenge you guys are facing in the performance management today. Awesome. Tracking skill gaps in development. Very good. Awesome. Getting managers to give timely feedback, making reviews continuous and fair. Awesome. Awesome. Getting personal career growth. Fantastic. Analytics. I think that's a very, very important one. Personal growth plans. Fantastic. Okay, I'll give it 15 more seconds. Skill gap, aligning goals across the organization, tracking skill gaps. Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys. You have been a wonderful audience. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit here, okay, and understand what exactly is happening. I think there are three things that we are seeing continuously across our customers and as well as for any company that we are talking with. Number one is that AI adoption is just going through the roof. According to a recent survey, 75% of the employees are now reported to use AI in some form or another. That means AI isn't a fad, it isn't a futuristic, it's already there. Secondly, when it comes to performance management, we are seeing a clear shift towards continuous feedback. In fact, organization that has already adopted a more real-time and ongoing approach reports a 40% boost in eNPS. And AI is at the forefront of it. And third, and the most important thing, is that companies which are leveraging AI in performance management are already seeing some real and measurable impact. In fact, let me go and share our own examples. Our own data suggests that companies who are using AI just to summarize 360-degree feedback are seeing twice more likely to work their employees to work on the action items and close the loop. So the message is very clear here. AI isn't just a tool. It's enabling a fundamental shift from the slow, manual, and subjective performance management to a real-time, data-driven, and people-centric talent management. And we are at a very turning point. AI is shifting HR from being reactive to predictive function. And most importantly, it's enabling managers to turn into coaches. It's helping us make smarter, faster, and more objective decisions, from summarizing reviews to identifying top talent, from enabling things that we could not even imagine, like identifying the skill gap mapping and building the skill profile of each employee, as well as doing predictive analytics. That has been something that I've been hearing for years that HR has been craving for. But AI is here to enable HR into making these things possible just with a click of a button. I have another question, okay? And which is about all the problems that you mentioned. What is it that you would like AI to fix in your performance management process today? What is the number one thing? Not two, not three, just one thing. If there's just one thing that AI can fix, what would that be? Skill gap mapping and insights, awesome. Fantastic. I'm seeing a lot of skill gap mapping and insights. That's exactly where the world is moving in the whole era of talent intelligence. Goals alignment, skill gap, brilliant. Wow, creating dynamic skill profiles, wonderful. Timely feedback, fantastic. Removing bias, I think that's a huge problem. Brilliant, 10 more seconds. Ease of writing, I think that's one of the top one. The ease of writing reviews, I think that goes across the organization, not just for HR, but for employees to write peer reviews, for manager to write their direct report. Awesome, awesome. So let me go and share with you how we are seeing that AI is changing across the whole performance review. When it comes to performance review, what is happening is that we are already witnessing AI doing a massive transformation across every step of the process, whether it is before the performance review, during the performance review, after the performance review, or at the time when there's no performance review cycle is going on, and really enabling the continuous feedback. The whole idea about AI is that it isn't any future talk or what they will do it in the future or in the next few years to come. All of these things that I've mentioned, it is already happening. So, for example, AI is already helping set and align goals. It is already sending personalized nudges. And most importantly, it is enabling continuous feedback, something I know many of you have been hoping for years. One of the most powerful use cases, and many of you write about how to do the ease of writing reviews, and that is something that we have ourselves witnessed in our own platform, is the whole powerful use case of AI-assisted review writing. We hear it all the time from HR that employees and managers are not submitting the feedback on time. And when we go to employees and managers, they say, "Oh, it's a tedious task. It takes a lot of brain cells. We have to craft it rightly. We have to remove bias. We have to collect all the feedback." And where AI is assisting in making sure that both employees as well as their managers turn honest feedback, and that too with a lot of data, which is all scrambled across into very well articulated and unbiased reviews, something that's both thoughtful and fair. So in short, AI is not just making the reviews easier, it's actually making them more human. Even outside of the performance review cycle, when it comes to continuous feedback, AI is making sure that it's able to go and make these things happen by simply nudging the managers. They're recommending what to talk about, what action items to go and do, who to praise, what words should you use for the recognition. So making things so simple, which is actually making employees more engaged as well as productive. Now, I want to go and talk about a real use case. So GE, for example, and one of the largest companies in the world, as well as one of the earliest pioneers in rethinking performance management, they moved away from annual reviews and built this amazing app, which they call PD at GE, which is performance development at GE. The whole idea for them was about building a real-time performance development system. What they did then was they gave it in the hands of every employee. And most importantly, they leverage AI and NLP, to summarize the self-assessments. They use the surface feedback themes, as well as the personalized coaching. They try to also utilize the same thing in the performance reviews and performance analysis. They use employees' performance data, as well as their one-on-one, as well as performance reviews feedback, and then convert it into something very personalized, both in the terms of feedback as well as in the terms of, action items and their, career learning as well as career growth plan. Now, what exactly was the result of that? We have seen so many different initiatives, but what really made, once they introduced AI and NLP, to actually see the impact? And what GE saw was almost 92% more employee engagement with the new system. Managers started giving faster and more frequent feedback. It was a complete culture shift from once in a year reviews that HR hates the most because it takes so much time and they want to make it continuous. And there is always a recency bias, to actually continuous growth conversation. It's actually a great example and a testament on how even a very large and traditional company, where things are so hard to move and which are really not nimble, can utilize the most up-to-date and deep technology like AI and natural language processing to make performance management more human rather than making it less. Now, I know that AI can feel a little intimidating. I hear this from all the HR leaders and a lot of times the managers, from employees, very fearful questions. Will it replace HR? Will it replace employees? Is it tracking people? Can we really trust it? Is there a bias around it? Will employees feel judged? Is there a surveillance around it? And all of them are very valid questions, because AI, like any powerful tool, can be used in a negative way, or it can be used to, be counterproductive. But the truth here that we have seen after working with almost 500 plus companies and going deep into the whole AI world is that AI is here to assist, not replace. If you used it correctly, it actually help you reduce bias. It actually help you significantly cut down manual efforts and frees up to focus on what truly matters and what you are really, really good at, which is building human connections and building a thriving culture. So the best way to think about AI is to think of it as like a co-pilot, or I would say even co-worker, who is actually taking over the very repetitive, tedious, and low leverage tasks that drain your time and energy so that you can invest in more coaching, building culture, building strategy, and most importantly, building human connection. The things that only humans can do. And it's always to remember, and I think that's the most important disclaimer I personally go and give it to all the HR leaders, as well as the managers and employees, that AI today is assistive. It is not autonomous. It works in a suggestive mode. It's going to give you an idea, a suggestion, whether you are about to give a feedback, whether you're about to review, whether it is about a career growth track, whether it is about to build a skill profile or identify a skill gap. It is always in a suggestive mode, leaving the final call either to the manager or the employee or the HR. In short, it's not an HR versus AI, it's HR plus AI working together much better. Now, a very often question that I'm asked is that what is the future? If AI is already so advanced, what's actually going to go and come next? What should we expect in the next few years to come? And the reality is that even though nobody knows that for sure, because the technology is changing with such an amazing speed, like we are every day seeing new LLMs and new technologies coming, and it's just blowing all our mind. But it is right in front of us that what are the things that's actually going to be possible? And the future of performance management, with the help of AI, is definitely smart, it's real time, and it's extremely personalized. We are going to go and see real AI co-pilots, which will help both HR as well as managers give better feedback and support every employee's career growth. We are going to go and see live dashboards, which will track performance of the employees by integrating with all their work tools and getting live understanding on how they are performing and where they are struggling, as well as their engagement in real times. We are going to see goals will be updated dynamically as the priorities shift, not going at the end of the year while setting up the annual reviews only to realize that, oh, the goals have changed that we had set last year. And most importantly, I think a lot of you talk about skill gap mapping and the career growth track. We are going to see AI work like a coach for every employee, building a skill profile for everyone in the company, and building a personalized growth journey along with learning suggestions, which is not just powered by feedback, but really powered by deep data and insight. So all in all, what we are seeing is that performance management is not just going to be a process. It's going to be a continuous, embedded, and strategic. And a large part of that we have already started seeing. So a very good question that I often ask whenever I'm meeting with anybody is that, okay, we have been hearing about almost everything that you said. It's in the news, it's in blogs, it's in videos. But what about me? How can I start leveraging AI? What can I do today where I can be at the forefront of the HR leaders who are leveraging this great technology, which is at the hands of us, to building a high-performing culture? And I tell them, everybody, which I'm going to go and say that here as well. First, you don't need to wait for the future. You don't need to invest a lot into different technologies and, different LLMs and all. You can just use whatever is available with, simple tools or, slightly advanced performance management system to start AI today. A simple way you can go and do pick one use case, whatever that is. It could be about summarization, it could be about nudges, it could be about data analytics. Just use that use case that you want to go and solve. Many of you talk about, helping managers to go and write better reviews, a lot about nudges, building skill, gap mapping, building skill profile. All you need is to identify that one use case and then go and just use whatever the existing data and feedback that you have. I know that a lot of data that you have is scattered. Just get it all together. Do not worry about getting that into a very structured format, because that's exactly the job of the LLMs and the AI today. You can go and use that with whatever, a lot of tools available, and I'm going to go and talk about that as well. So go and use that. And there are very, very simple things that you can do. For example, you can auto-summarize reviews. You can nudge managers at the right time. You can tag goals. You can spot silent top performers. You can suggest learning paths. You can analyze sentiment in the feedback. You can use most of the tools like ChatGPT, Zapier, LinkedIn Learning on peoplebox.ai, and you can go and make sure that a lot of these use cases that you are today struggling with and want AI to solve, you don't need to wait for a future or invest in a very high-tech tool, and can start doing that today. So to close that, what we have gone and done is to create a bonus slide here to put together a quick AI cheat sheet for a performance management. What you can actually go and do here is to set a simple personalized hack that you can start using today. It actually includes tools, it includes steps, and some real examples to help you start with AI without needing to be technical. And I'm going to go there one by one to share things that you can do. And we're going to, of course, share it after the session as well, so you can take it back and try one of the hacks in your organization tomorrow. To do a simple thing like auto-summarizing reviews, all you can do is to download all the reviews and use a simple, tool like ChatGPT or MS Copilot. Just copy that feedback, paste it into the ChatGPT and just ask for summary. You can ask it about, a specific thing, like, for example, build action items or create a skill gap mapping or anything else that you want to understand about what you want to go and share with employees. A very simple thing that, for example, we do at peoplebox.ai, whenever somebody does the 360-degree feedback, we create a very long report, but on the top, we started sharing an AI summary, and you won't believe it. Just that summary has become the most loved feature for us, because leaders are always busy. They're always they crave for feedback, but they do not have the time to go through the 3 pages and reading each and every feedback. They want to quickly understand what are the gap areas, where do they want to go and improve, and what are the action items for them, and if there's any way to go and nudges that. Which brings to the second thing about nudging and setting reminders. Today, you can use tools, integration tools like Zapier, you can use peoplebox.ai, or you can even use a lot of these free AI agents like Manush, or even ChatGPT is coming with its own, to just set simple reminders, whether it is about a weekly one-on-one, whether it is about doing the performance review, whether it is about giving praises, or about anything that you want your managers to do. You can create personalized nudges to actually go and give it to all the managers and employees. A lot of you talk about goals. How do we go and cascade and align goals? And that's where one of the very, very important thing that we have seen ourselves in peoplebox. At peoplebox, whenever somebody writes a goal, it actually suggests and helps you align all the way top down. And one of the very important thing that is coming along is how do we go and tag skills with goals, so that we can understand that what are the skills that we need and what are the skills we have. And again, you have all these tools, whether it is ChatGPT, whether it's Notion or peoplebox, at your hands to just use some auto-suggested skills to go and understand how do you go either align goals or tag them with the skills. Similarly, if you want to go and spot some silent top performers, all you need today is just data. And I'm very sure that all of you have no dearth of data. You have 360-degree feedback, continuous feedback, you have performance reviews, you have engagement surveys. It's so scattered and unstructured, and the analytics, it's all over the place, that nobody has the time, as well as it needs a little bit of technical prowess to go and convert into some real actionable insights. This is what the today's AI can do. You can actually ask them very specific question. So for example, you can go to ChatGPT, just throw all the data that you can, and just tell me, give me the top 5 performers, or give me top 5 people who I need to go and put into the PIP, as well as their PIP plan. You can ask for their personalized learning paths. You can ask to create their skill profile as well. And last but not the least, one of the places where we see HR struggling, in fact, I'd say close to the most, is the analytics and reports. There's so much of data, and there is so much information that you need. And that's where we are seeing a lot of AI making huge progress. We are now in a world where you can simply ask a question, and AI can go into the data and fetch that. For example, who all are the people who did not submit the performance review? Who are my top, most engaged employees? Or who are the top performance employees? Even questions, more complex questions. For example, who are who are the employees who we hired with, say, 50% hike, and given, say, 30% more hike in appraisal, but they did not perform, excel in the last quarter. You can ask these complex questions, and AI today has the capability, and you don't need, deep tech tools. You can actually use tools which are available for you, and just ask simple questions. We will be sharing that as well after. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you taking the time. And then you've been a wonderful audience, very interactive. Thank you so much for sharing all your thoughts and what would you like AI to do. And thank you so much for having me. Over to you, Paolo.
Yep. Thank you so much, Abhinav. That was a powerful look into performance management and the rise of AI. If you have any questions for Abby, please drop them in the Q&A tab and we'll address those later. Up next, we're shifting gears to explore how we can go beyond traditional performance ratings to build a culture of growth and engagement powered by meaningful data. Our speaker is a seasoned professional with over 18 years of experience in human resources. She later established the Castro Law Firm, where she leads a team handling civil, commercial, and labor cases, providing general legal counsel and representing clients in various judicial, quasi-judicial, and administrative forums. Currently, she plays a crucial role as Chief People Officer at Sprout. She has led departments including legal, audit and compliance, human resources, administration, implementation, customer success, and professional services. She is also a certified data protection officer, Six Sigma Green Belter, ISO lead auditor, certified intellectual property valuator, and intellectual property arbitrator, is now venturing into AI law. Let's all welcome attorney Arlene De Castro. Take it away.
Hello, good morning, everyone. It's really early, and I'd like to express my sincerest appreciation for all of you guys who are here, because it really shows our shared belief that investing time in conversations like this is essential, not only in driving personal goals but also organizational successes. So let's make the most of this time as we explore insights, share experiences, and work towards meaningful outcomes. So for today, I'm gonna wear my HR hat, and I'm really using my experience in Sprout, like my 18 years of experience in the industry, and also like giving consulting advices to different clients. And it's really tied up to what Abhinav said earlier, which is a very marvelous point, that performance management has evolved throughout the years. Previously, it's very traditional, often backwards, it's very static. But now, beyond ratings, it means a shift in continuous performance conversations, not just evaluations, but continuous performance conversations, growth-focused feedback, and real-time recognition. And to dovetail on what Abhinav had mentioned earlier, I just want to say that performance really thrives in a psychologically safe and engaged environment. And like what the psychological safety mean? Of course, it's really, not feeling guilty about, let's say, opening up or, sharing your views, expressing your opinions. There's no retaliation. And, when you have an environmentally or a psychologically safe environment, that's where engagement really kicks in. So for performance management, Avinav has really given you like the tools in order to make this happen. But what about its allies, which is employee engagement and satisfaction, right? So let us tackle that because my topic for today is beyond ratings, using data to drive employee growth and engagement. So first question for you guys, like, do you think engagement and satisfaction is the same? Employee engagement and satisfaction. Please type in the chat below if it's a yes or a no. Like, what do you think? Is it the same? No. Okay, Jonathan says no. What about the others? Okay, so great. So everything, I think everyone in this room is actually very familiar with the concept, right? So there's really a misconception that it is the same, but employee growth and engagement are twin pillars in a thriving workspace. So when employees are given opportunities to develop their skills and achieve their potential, they contribute more meaningfully to the organization's success. So growth isn't just about performance. It's about cultivating an environment where individual feels supported, challenged, validated, in fact, right? And it's where they value their unique contributions to the organization. So yes, you're correct, Gretchen. It's satisfaction is a product of employee engagement, and employee engagement is really like beyond the satisfaction surveys, right? So like an employee can clock in daily 9 to 5 and be very satisfied with his work, like how he does his work, like what his role is. So that is really satisfaction. But engagement goes beyond that. If an employee is engaged, it not only is he satisfied with his work internally, he is also going the extra mile because he feels emotionally connected to the organization's goals and is really focusing on not only completing his task, but really like the overall mission vision of the company. So we want engaged individuals, not just satisfied individuals. So we don't want just present employees. We want employees to be passionate, to be committed and aligned with our company mission vision. So together, growth and engagement plays a powerful cycle, right? And growth fuels engagement as employees see the tangible investments in their future. Engagement in turns drives growth. As motivated employees, they pursue learning and excellence. So by prioritizing both, organizations not just unlock productivity, they also unlock potential for long-term success, retention, and most importantly, sustainability. So why go beyond employee satisfaction ratings? Of course, again, it's because engagement is our goal. And, annual surveys really feel like checking boxes, right? We need real-time, meaningful feedback to keep up with evolving expectations. And, traditional satisfaction surveys only provide a snapshot. And, normally, it doesn't allow us to uncover the why. So when we're doing employee satisfaction surveys, it's always like, why? Why are we doing this? And I guess that's really one of the pitfalls that that people have in the organization. Like they give employee surveys, generic ones, without really understanding the why are they doing that. Like what is the end goal in doing an employee survey, right? And of course, generic scores often lack actionable insights, and employees crave real-time feedback and not annual check-ins. So imagine if you just do annual check-ins, it doesn't really highlight what the organization needs. And you cannot actually get the pulse of the organization in that way, right? So by leveraging qualitative feedback, behavioral data, advanced analytics, AI, as what Abhinav is saying earlier, organizations can gain a more nuanced understanding of employee experience, motivations, and challenges. So what you need is deeper insights into this to enable leaders to craft personalized growth opportunities, because that's the goal. You need to address underlying concerns, foster a truly engaging workplace, and ultimately moving beyond employee ratings and transform this data into actionable strategies that empower employees and elevate organizational performance. So, okay, so it's not just about, again, it's not just about measuring satisfaction, it's about making a measurable impact to the organization and to the employees. So, now I'd like to give you like, what are the limits of static ratings? So, of course, if it is static, it's just a one-time survey, it's outdated, right? So, employee experience evolves rapidly, and relying on periodic snapshots means that we're working in insights that may not be currently a reality. So question for you guys, how frequently do you do your employee surveys? Is it once a year? Not at all? It's something that you've implemented. Can you type it in the chat? Like, how frequent do you do it? See? So a lot of you guys here are saying once a year, annual, 2 times a year. That may not be the most effective currently. Like, and I'm guilty of it as well. Like previously, so there, someone says at least quarterly, right? But in reality, like I was guilty of this previously as head of HR in Sprout. Like, I do like quarterly evaluations with people, and also quarterly surveys. So that has proven to be really good. Quarterly, twice a year, not so much. Once a year, definitely not. And the reason is like it lacks the context. It's like a general score of everything. So a single number cannot capture the complexity of employee experiences or the reason behind their sentiments. And obviously, like if you're doing it like very on a limited time, there's also limited insights, right? There's probably a low response rate. Not everyone will answer, because that's our problem in HR. Am I correct? Like people would really say that, oh, like people don't answer surveys, etc. So that becomes a pain point. And so you're not able to get really good actionable insights. It's really like your data is incomplete. And of course, your delayed results hinders timely action, right? So upon, if we're relying on data, let's say 6 months ago, we're already behind. So that's my point here. To truly engage and support employees that address actionable problems, you need to have actionable insights real time that adapt to the changing needs and priorities. I give you a concrete example of this. So this is really an example from one of my clients who we did consultancy with. So the point I'm trying to drive here is really the pitfalls of an outdated employee survey data. So imagine this company conducts its annual employee engagement survey, and they did it in January. And at the time, the results show really high satisfaction with leadership and workforce culture. But then in March, there was a significant organizational change. They changed their leader, they changed their COO. And so there's a restructuring that happened, and it created a lot of uncertainty, and it reduced the morale of people. And because the survey was done in January, and that this change happened in March, management was already unaware of the shifts. And so when concerns finally surfaced out of thin air during exit interviews and informal feedback sessions, then the organization realized that it really missed its opportunity to proactively address employee dissatisfaction. So by this point, turnover has already increased, attrition very high, and valuable talent already left the organization. Had the company had access to real-time data or conduct more frequent pulse surveys, they could have identified the early signs of disengagement and acted swiftly. And it might have provided them with clear communication, support, and solutions to address these concerns before they even escalate. So this proactivity is really what is a must in HR organizations currently. So, I'd like to, give you background of it. Next slide, please. So we have this product. It's called Sprout Pulse, and Sprout Pulse basically is a tool where you can actually get the pulse of what the organization real time with a dashboard, of course. And you can do it on a quarterly basis. You can do it monthly. The frequency is up to you. But we also have a feature in Sprout. If you are a client of Sprout and you have not activated this yet, I highly advise you to do it. So this is very crucial for me because honestly, it's close to my heart because I've prevented a lot of attrition because of this. So there's a feature in Sprout. It's just for free where you have the capacity to before an employee logs in, there's a question there. How are you feeling today? And it's a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. What we do in HR is that if and when an employee writes an answer of 1 or 2, we call the employee one by one, and I'm not even kidding. And then we ask, hey, if we see that it's very consistent, like let's say 3 days in a row, it's 1 or 2, we know that this employee is already disengaged. And then so we call them like, hey, what's going on with you? Like, how can we help you? Is there anything that's affecting you personally? And most of the time, the problems that we've encountered is that the concerns are more on a personal level. And because they have problems in their mental health, we're able to relay them to a licensed psychologist or psychiatrist, and we're able to pin the problem right then and there. Or sometimes it's really just a love problem, or like, hey, I have problems with my manager. So on a micro scale, we're able to find out like what the real problem in that area is. And so it's more like imagining having a live pulse for your workforce, like a dashboard for morale. So, at any time you can picture, like you can see which teams are thriving and which ones need support. You'd notice, let's say, a slight dip in morale, let's say in this team. And then, you can highlight feedback, let's say concerns about targets or about a manager. So real-time engagement insights enables immediate action, understanding mood shifts before they impact retention, and identify thriving and struggling teams proactively. These are the new standard: living data and living engagement. So continuous engagement, and not just looking at the dashboard and figuring out, oh, okay, this is how employees feel. That's no longer the case right now. It has evolved into a more honest, open forum, and also a team that can share ideas and solution. So, again, a complete example of that is, like based on the dashboard of Sprout Pulse, when they did that, one of our clients noticed that there's a significant decrease in morale in one of the team members. And it turns out that, the product team, because it was in the product team that there was a significant dip. It turns out that they're already feeling burnout in their work. So with Pulse, they were able to formulate proactive strategies that drive sustained growth. Okay. All right. How to activate the how are you today in Sprout? Please contact your customer success manager. They will be glad to activate that for you. And then, of course, at the back end, Miss Noemi, always monitor that. Like monitor like how engaged per day your employees are. To be honest, we've also encountered people who are suicidal. And so, in reality, we've prevented a lot of those because of that very simple feature. Okay, next slide, please. So, I'd like to introduce to you this purse. And this purse is, it's really designed to streamline workforce management, learning and development, and engagement with smart data-driven tools. So obviously, right, performance management is always tied up with learning and development, and also engagement. With this burst, it's really micro moments that matter. So they have weekly pulse surveys as well, smart question rotation, anonymous mood tracking, emotional intelligence through data. So it's not only that you can actually use, you can also use this tool for you to be able to track employee engagement and satisfaction. So what they do is they have a centralized workforce insight. So they have HR workforce to view trends, identify potential issues, and make data-backed decisions quickly. They also have real-time engagement monitoring. So, I really like the feature of the anonymous mood tracking, because sometimes people feel like, they don't want to open up. But, if you're anonymous, it's easier for them to really open up to the organization or to your HR. And, you can just analyze it based on data. Oh, this is from the product team. This is from, let's say, the support team, etc. And they also have personalized growth plan, streamlined communication and feedback. And what's really good about this is that it's scalable and adaptable. So whether you're a small team or, let's say part of a really big global workforce, you can use this tool. And next slide. It also bridges the gap, because it's an AI-powered platform that personalizes learning paths based on skill assessment and employee performance. So there's role-based skills and AI-driven learning paths. So if you tie that up with PeopleBox as your performance management, like this could be your more or less your support for learning and development. And I really like the learning and engagement tracking on an individual and team level, and of course analytics for the performance, training needs, and succession. So there's no one good tool that you can use. It really depends on the need of your organization. So if you feel like these are the things that you need in your organization, use this first. If you feel that Pulse is enough for you, then use Pulse. If you feel that PeopleBox is really designed for organization, then do so. It's all in the ecosystem of Sprout anyway, because Sprout is an ecosystem of tools from hire to retire. So another good way to put this is really engagement through targeted development. So let's say with real-time insights, right? This first can help organizations track employee sentiment and engagement, and allows you to have L&D initiatives to be adjusted proactively. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, and then of course, there is Sprout Insight. And I'm using this tool on a regular basis, actually. And the good thing here is that it turns signals into strategy. So if we're talking about going beyond the just dashboards, or going beyond what is really expected from an HR perspective, then, or going beyond the ratings, this is really the tool for you, because there's real-time management dashboard, department and team level visibility, attrition risk and tenure trends, and actionable reporting for leaders. So, this Sprout Insight, I really use it as a tool to report to my bosses, to let's say the board or to the president of the company, because the dashboards are already there. I don't have to create it, and it's really just in one click. For example, like who among my employees are likely to resign within a year or 6 months? With Sprout Insight, I'm able to answer that, because there's really an algorithm there already. I know who is constantly late. I know which departments are constantly let's say doing overtimes. I know how much a department cost on a month-on-month basis or a year-on-year basis. So I'm able to provide strategies based on data-driven insights. So that's really a very, very good tool if you're a manager, or if you're, let's say, a CHRO or even a COO, to really turn your signals into strategies. Next slide. And of course, the HR Analytics dashboard provides data-driven insights for people management. You can track on a daily, monthly, quarterly basis. You can track this attendance, attrition, retention, and you can plan on with your HR data on leaves, headcount, optimize payroll costs, and pay structures. So this is a very good tool if you really want to challenge, let's say the traditional ways of employee or developing an employee engagement strategy for your organization. Next slide, please. And of course, so from data to growth, right? So I would like to share with you what we did in the organization. So there was really engagement dips in that's linked to leadership. So what we did there was we launched coaching sessions to or coaching programs for leaders, because in reality, like, no matter how good your tools are, let's say, you have Sprout Insight, you have Disperse, you have PeopleBox. If your if your leaders are not able to provide really good coaching sessions to employees, it will never work out. Sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. So that's what we did, and it proved to be very powerful for us. So it's more like we've used AI, or the performance management platform and the learning and development platform, as our co-pilot. But we, as humans, are still the pilots of the project. And so this has proven to be a really good practice for us. And another insight that I can share with you is that when we identified low scores in remote teams, we were able to do an action item there by introducing tailored work from home setups. So this was really during the height of the pandemic, and people aren't really used to working remotely. But when we had improved communications, when we introduced new tools, and when we had ergonomic resources, then it really boosted morale and productivity. Like, we also implemented during the time work-life integration. Um, and like, when they realized that, oh, I can really integrate my work and my life without feeling guilty about it, then it really proved to be successful for us, because they really feel that they belong in the organization, and they can really thrive not only professionally but also personally. And when there was a matched pride score dip due to a policy change, we made the policy, and we noticed that there's a noticeable decline in employee pride in the organization. We really improved our communication and transparency around changes in the policies, and the company restored confidence and alignment with its workforce. So in summary here, the power really lies first and foremost in recognizing and acting on these insights before they escalate into larger issues. And that's really the power of these tools. It's really that they show you the why, or they show you like things from a micro level before they can actually escalate into bigger issues, because bigger issues sometimes are harder to solve. So like, it's not a band-aid fix, but you're fixing things from the onset. And it's really laying the foundation for a resilient and thriving workplace. Next slide. So this is actually a growth and engagement loop, right? And it's not a one-time fix, it's a loop of trust and action. So I give you tips on how I do it normally. How I do it is, first we listen. So listen, and then we analyze, and then we act, we communicate, and then we repeat. So listen, open the floor, let's say for pulse surveys, one-on-ones, real-time feedback tools such as PeopleBox, right? And then encourage employees to share openly, knowing their voices drive real change. Think of it as a starting beat of your engagement rhythm. And then analyze. So when you analyze, it lets you deep dive into feedback to identify trends and uncover hidden insights. So use tools. Don't do it manually. Use tools and AI to connect the dots between engagement and outcomes. And this is normally where the aha moments happen, your chance to pinpoint what matters most. And then, of course, you act. When you act, you move insight to impact, from bold to targeted actions. Launch initiatives like, as what I mentioned earlier, we launched leadership coaching sessions, tailored learnings, depending really on what we've uncovered due to the data that we have. And then, of course, communicate, show employees the power of feedback by sharing what you've done. Because like, if employees feel that they're unheard, like, they mentioned something to you and it's not being done, then, it doesn't really make a good story. And, storytelling is really highlighting the successes, right? If people feel that, you can turn results into a rallying cry, when they felt heard and all, that's really where engagement really starts kicking in, because they really feel part of the organization. Actually, I always encourage people to put people in the process, like not only the leaders but also rank and file, just so they feel that they're communicating and that they're really part of the process. And of course, repeat, because engagement is not a one-time thing. It's not a destination. It is really a journey. In reality, it's a journey, and we need to visit the loop repeatedly, regularly, refining your approach with each cycle. And so build your momentum and keep the organization on a path of continuous improvement. So why is this working? It's working because the engagement loop creates an energizing feedback ecosystem where employees can be seen, valued, and inspired to contribute. So next slide, please. And so, like, what does this mean for leaders, for you guys, right? Because we are all leaders in our own right. So it's now insight led, not intuition based. It's human centered and not score centered. And it's action focused and not admin focused. So decisions are now driven by real time data and actionable insights to ensure strategies are grounded and not really just guesswork. So, you don't have to assume, no more assumption, but only precision. And also human centered and not score centered. I really believe that AI can never replace humans, and that's the reason why in HR stands for human, right? It's a co-pilot, but not the pilot. So, beyond, moving metrics and understanding the people behind the numbers, we can prioritize their experiences, emotions, aspirations, and foster genuine connections and trust. And of course, action focused and not admin focused. So gone are the days where HR is really just doing the menial tasks, but really, HR now is really for change. Actually, we are now the game changers in the industry, and we now normally have a seat in the table. So this mindset transformation of engagement from just a checkbox exercise into a powerful human-centered force for growth and change. It's not just about doing better; it's about being better for your people. And next slide, please. And of course, key takeaways for this is really beyond ratings means deeper trust, higher impact, and real connection. And, when I say deeper trust, it would really mean employees feel heard and valued when their feedback leads to meaningful action. Again, you can have all the tools in the world, but if you do not use it to make your employees feel heard and valued, then you're just don't get these tools, because it's for naught. And higher impact, of course, insight driven decisions create targeted improvements that resonate across teams and organizations. And of course, real connections, right? Real connection is focusing on people over numbers. The tool is not built for numbers. The tool is built so that you can foster a culture for the people where collaboration and engagement thrives. So, let's commit to a journey where we keep on listening, where we keep on growing, where we keep on building a workplace where everyone thrives together. There's really power in listening, and this is really the path forward, because beyond ratings, we're not just improving processes, we're improving workplaces. So it's more than just the numbers, it's about the people. And so the work starts now, and so let's make it count. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Attorney Arlene. That was incredibly insightful. It's clear that data isn't just about measurement, it's about unlocking people potential as well. And for those of you looking to take action after this session, we have something special just for you. Download our exclusive thought leadership resource. It's packed with strategies on how to harness AI to elevate every stage of the employee journey. You can access it now by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link in the chat. So feel free to scan the QR code right now. At the same time, before we move on to our Q&A portion, Feel free to grab a cup of coffee, a light snack if you haven't gotten a chance to drink your coffee yet this morning. There's also a link available. You can download your copy, so feel free to download that as well. Aside from that, we'd also love to hear your thoughts. So please take a minute to answer the feedback form now, appearing on your screen. So your insights help us make each session better than the last. So feel free to answer the survey. There are a couple of questions, and we would really appreciate your feedback and how we can further improve these type of webinars, or what you would like to hear in the next upcoming webinars moving forward. Okay. I think now we can proceed to the Q&A portion. So let's open the floor for some questions. We've received some great ones from the audience. I'll be directing these to both Abhinav and Attorney Arlene. So we received one question from an anonymous attendee, one of the participants here. I believe this is for Attorney Arlene. For the growth and engagement loop, can you share some questions to ask employees?
Yes, that is a very good question. Thank you very much. You want to be anonymous. So, but anyway, yeah, so I have really good questions here. And diba, there's a loop. So for growth, normally the questions that I ask would be, what skills would you like to develop in the next 6 to 12 months? Or let's say, what do you feel that you have enough opportunities for learning and development? And what are the things that you need to know for you to be better at your job? So that's for growth. And then for engagement, I always ask this question, like, are you still happy with your work? Are you satisfied? Are you satisfied, or but are you happy? How are you today? Actually, that's really the things that I always ask. And I always ask them, like, what motivates you for work, or what might cause you to leave? But more importantly, when you're closing the loop, the questions that I would ask normally would be, what's one thing that we can start, stop, or continue doing to make your stay here or your experience here better? I really think that's a good question. And I always ask them as well, like, be radically candid with me, like, what are the areas for improvement as an organization that we can do? So, like, those feedback, no matter how like silly it is. Let's say, I even got feedback before where they said that, hey, it seems that the organization is too professional. You don't really play games and all. So we really used that as our leverage, because we have a lot of Gen Zs in the office. And I didn't realize that they have a different form of engagement already. So we've leveraged their feedback to turn those into engagement activities specifically tailored for them. So, and like, after that, when closing the loop as well, we always ask them, hey, has your address been addressed? And then, like, let's say their rating from the previous one is, let's say, a 7. You ask, let's say, how can we make it an 8 or a 9? And then, you go from there. So, of course, it can never be a 10. You can never be perfect as an HR professional. But, if the employees just see that you're driving action and that you're ready to transform slowly but surely, for as long as there's change, and again, as mentioned earlier, for as long as they're acknowledged, and for as long as they feel that you're doing something about what they're telling you about, definitely they will appreciate it. And that's really what can help you close the loop in engagement. But as I've said earlier, engagement is not a one-way street. It's always continuous. So the employee might have an issue now and it's resolved, but it's gonna be a continuous thing. And it's really just a loop that you really have to go through.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Attorney Arlene. We have a couple of more questions coming in from the participants. One of which is, what are the most effective use cases of AI in performance reviews that companies should prioritize first? So I think, Abby, could you please answer this question to start?
Thank you so much, Paulo. Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And, even though I hate to go and say that, but it really depends on, the company's priorities. So when I speak with our own clients and we ask them that, where all would you like AI to go and solve? And we get different answers, primarily depending on the biggest struggle that they are facing. What I usually go and suggest is that the first place to start is to run a engagement survey, and understand that where exactly are your employees struggling with. A lot of times you feel that they are really struggling with getting timely feedback. They are not able to do one-on-ones. They don't have any clarity about their goals. Many times in companies, employees are not very clear about their career growth plan, or what are the learning they have, or what are the learning opportunities they can have. So I think it's usually almost always driven by the employees and the issues that they are facing in the company, and then we go and work backwards and identify that, okay, if your job as an HR leader is to improve the retention and grow your employees, as well as, of course, improve the productivity, let's identify the number one issues which is blocking your employees to become highly engaged and high performing talent that, of course, you hired them from, and then use the AI. So it could be as simple as a thing like enabling one-on-ones. It could be as simple as, cascading the goals. So it really depends on what are the issues and what are your priorities as the HR. But to answer this question in very generic sense, one of the major things that we have seen, and which has almost always helped, is to utilize AI in defining and cascading or aligning goals, whichever method you use. So you might be using OKRs, you might be using KPIs, you might be using balanced scorecards or KRAs. Aligning goals always have great advantage because, one, it helps the leadership to see top bottom and see how their goals are aligned to each and every employee or the team. But at the same time, it gives the employees the visibility, as well as makes them accountable to the goals and understand that how the work that they are doing is aligned to the company's top priorities and strategy. So that's one thing usually we have seen a lot of companies to start the AI use case. Another place where we have seen very often, it's not the highest priority, but it has, I would say, the highest impact is using AI to summarizing things. So when you have a lot of feedback, it could be a performance review feedback, or it could be a 360-degree feedback, just using AI to summarize that. So everybody is very clear about their action items and the effort that you have taken in running a 360 or running a performance review, it actually get materialized and you're able to see people closing the loop. Because a lot of time we often hear that you run these reviews, but the feedback loop is not closed. And when we ask the employees and manager, they say, well, it wasn't clear what were we supposed to do. So AI can be very handy and powerful in summarizing that. So these are the two most common use cases we have seen. Sorry for the long answer.
No, I definitely appreciate that, Abby. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on that. And I do agree, at the end of the day, it's really how the employees see what needs they need in terms of how they can further improve their performance moving forward. Another question that's from our participants: how do we turn employee sentiment data into actionable strategies without analysis paralysis? So I guess both of you can answer this question. Feel free to go first, Abby.
Yeah, thanks, Paulo. I'll try to be quick here. So I think again, first of all, it really depends that whether you get anonymous feedback or non-anonymous feedback. But let's suppose you get anonymous feedback. And you're right, there's no dearth of data which is scattered, and it's very easy to go and sort of convert it into analysis paralysis because there are going to be a lot of action items. I usually go and give this tip to our customers and HR leaders. And I say that, okay, if you were to go and pick, like, let's suppose you from 100 action items that were actually came out from your engagement survey, if you were to just pick top three that you believe will definitely help you improve your ENPS in the next time you run the survey, either in the next 3 months or 6 months, what will that top three be? And you will be the best person to do that. But this is where a good analytics or AI can really help because they can identify both the frequency of that feedback as well as the effort it would take. A lot of time people are worried about, career growth tracks, or for example, ideas about, building a whole learning management system. And these are slightly long term. And it's not that they are not taken, but we want to have some, short, the quick wins. So my usually answer to our leaders is to identify the top three, which you will see a definitely win in the next ENPS survey, and then start with that. And once you start with that, employee starts getting the confidence that, hey, our voice matter. Whenever we give a feedback, we actually see the change, and that will help you get more feedback, and then you can build a short-term strategy as well as the medium-term strategy. And again, I know it sounds corny because that's what I have been sort of, blowing up the horn since morning. But AI can be an amazing enabler here because all of these feedback that you can get, and you can just throw it to an AI, and it can really convert into really good action items as well as the strategies towards that.
Yes. To dovetail on what Abhinav has mentioned, like I really feel that for analysis paralysis not to happen, of course, you'd get a lot of data, right? And there are different data points from different tools and from the different surveys maybe that you've done. I really feel that before we analyze something or before we even touch the data, we don't touch the data just for the sake of it. We ask, what is the problem that we are trying to solve? That is the first thing. So, what is the business problem here? Or what is the use case here? Are we trying to solve retention? Are we trying to solve attrition? So if those are the things that you're trying to focus on, you scrap the other data for now, right? And then you segment the data wisely. So you will look at the sentiment of, let's say, per team. So let's say you're trying to resolve, let's say, data or the attrition of a certain team. So you focus on the team, or let's say on the tenure or the role or the surface targeted insights, rather than being overwhelmed with the averages, right? And then I would also feel like there needs to be a test environment. And by test environment, I'd say like there should be limited number of people first before you implement it across the board. So don't fall into the trap of having it across the board right away. Test in a small environment first and test it in a testable environment, and with a testable intervention. And of course, once you test that with a small or limited size, then you close the loop, and then share your findings, and that's the time that you repeat the process. So I feel like that's the most effective way, rather than like, oh, we have so much data, okay, I'm gonna do this, that would really result in analysis paralysis, as you would say it.
Thank you so much, Abby and Attorney Arlene, for those wonderful insights and answering the question on analysis paralysis. We have a couple more questions coming in from the participants. One of which is, what if the performance evaluation is used for documentation only? How do we address or improve it? Feel free, any one of you, to provide your answers or insights on this.
Yeah, I can start. So for me, Miss Mirna, no. So like, if currently that is the situation that organizations are in, then definitely it provides no real impact. And I'm glad that you are acknowledging that fact that you need to address it or to improve it. No, so for me, I've experienced this in the past, when I was starting out with my career, and it's really a management issue during the time, right? A management issue where people just want to document it just for the sake of having it. It's just like a checkbox or a tick box or a compliance task, so to speak. Um, so how to solve it is really there should be a shift from evaluation to developmental conversations. So you need to rebrand the process. First, the organization needs to acknowledge that it is the way it is, and then you rebrand the process. So it's not about grading, it's about growing. So for instance, you can have a campaign around growth mindset, and part of the growth mindset is really encouraging people to do performance management the right way. And you can encourage forward looking questions like, okay, what do we want to achieve in this organization? Or let's say for an employee, what do you want to achieve in this organization? So it doesn't become just a grading tool, but a way for growth, as a growth tool for people to really own the process as well. And I've also shared earlier to include people in the process. So when you're doing performance evaluations, make sure that you have buy-in, not only from top management, but also from the people in the rank and file, and also mid managers. I always say mid matters. That's really your main focal point, because that serves as the bridge between you and top management. It's performance management is not just an HR task. It is a task for everyone in the organization, because performance management need to be embedded on a day-to-day operation. How do we do it? So for me, like we did it by relating, let's say, day-to-day tasks, right? So we normally have a daily stand-up meeting that's tied up, let's say, with the mid-managers to their rank and file employee. And in the DSMs, or the daily stand-up meetings, performance is already embedded there. It's normally documented, like, okay, these are the actionable insights, blah, blah, blah. And then that is converted to an L10 weekly sessions, level 10 sessions. Please Google it. It's a very, very good tool developed by EOS. Not a tool, but more like a framework. So basically in there, it's a living, breathing document. We have a living, breathing document that really itemizes like what's our goal in the organization, and then what does it like take on a day-to-day on how to do it. So it's really there, like the performance is measured there on a weekly basis. We're measuring the KPIs on a weekly basis per person, per team. And that's really converted into our monthly meetings in the office, where based from the weekly L10s per department, we now report it on a monthly basis, and then it's translated to a quarterly feedback, and then it's translated to the annual feedback. So it's like it's interconnected. So that's really how you can really make sure that it becomes not just for documentation, but it becomes part of day-to-day life. And of course, you need to train the managers to make it meaningful, because many managers don't really know how to make impactful conversations. As I've mentioned earlier, you may have the best tools in the world, but if you do not have the right manager to explain why is it needed, like, why do we need to evaluate you? This is not a grading system, but a way for your growth. And always package it in a nice way, right? So I really feel that the feedback loop that I've mentioned earlier should really be addressed, and like always tie it up positively, tie it up, let's say, with career growth, team and company goals, rewards and recognition, engagement. Those should really be tied hand in hand, because if it's just performance evaluation, it's really just about the grading system. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Attorney Arlene. And thank you so much for somebody who asked the question. I'm so glad that you asked this, because this goes to the core fundamental of why we started the company at the first place, and why we kept the pretzel as a logo, which actually represent how business goals and priorities are sometimes get disconnected with performance management. I have come across so many companies. In fact, I've worked with so many companies where what you said is so true, where performance management or performance review is just done for documentation. And I believe is that the first thing that as an HR leader, I would go is to just go and truly understand why is that the case. I would try and understand that from a business perspective, what exactly are the problems that the company is facing today that you believe that performance management can solve. It could be retention, it could be low productivity, it could be lack of visibility, it could be lack of alignment, it could be lack of focus, it could be just a lack of accountability. It could be that people are not able to go and understand their career growth. From a business side, there must be some problem that the business is facing. And I believe that if the performance management is just for the documentation purpose, the only reason why it is because somebody in the leadership is not able to connect their problem with the performance management. They do not today have the belief that a great performance management can actually go and solve their business problem. And the first thing as an HR leader that you can do is to tackle that problem, understand, go deep into that, and come up with a plan on how a good performance management with the right tools can actually go and solve that. I give the most of the companies who come to us for their OKRs and aligning business and individual goals are actually facing the biggest problem of strategy execution, strategy changes, but they are not able to go and align their people to this real dynamic world. And which is the reason why they come to us and say that how can we build a great, very aligned, very integrated performance management system, which can help us execute faster as well as grow our, help us achieve our business goals. And understanding that main business issue is the core thing that we do first. So again, I go back to, the same thing is that if you are able to go and understand the core business issue that is sort of your leadership is losing their sleep on and connect it with the right performance management, you are for a big win there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Abby and Attorney Arlene. Truly valuable insights when it comes to performance evaluation. Next question coming from the chat as well. When should a performance improvement plan be initiated for employees? And what is the optimal time frame for doing so?
I can take that. So as a lawyer, right? Like, this is so funny because this is a question that's been asked of me like for the longest time in the legal field as well. So like they asked me, attorney, I want to let go of this person. Should I make a performance improvement plan? My answer is always performance improvement plan by the word itself is an improvement plan. And so it should not be used strategically, or it should be used strategically rather, but not punitively. So when should it be initiated? So when doing a performance improvement plan, it should be after consistent, documented underperformance. One of the pitfalls of HR leaders is really to do a PIP, and it's the first time that an employee is hearing about it. When that happens, it creates a very negative impression on the part of the HR that, hey, it's only now that I know about this and now I'm on a performance improvement plan. So maybe they're really trying to get rid of me of some sort. So that's really a pitfall. And so like if you're doing a PIP, make sure that it is consistent and there's a documented underperformance. It shouldn't be the first time that an employee hears about it. So have a regular one, there should be like regular one-on-ones or check-ins before you initiate a PIP. And if, like despite the one-on-ones and all, and there has still a clear documented underperformance, that's when you issue a performance improvement plan. And of course, you can also use it when, let's say, informal coaching has not worked. You've provided feedback, you've offered support already, and you've provided interventions, but there's still little to no measurable improvement on the part of the employee. And of course, when the performance are coachable, right? Again, always try to paint it on a positive picture. So PIP, performance improvement plan, it's for people with potential to improve. Okay, so always take that into consideration. So when you're putting a PIP, it should be clear, it should be measurable, it should be achievable, and you're telling the person that I'm giving you the chance to improve because I believe in your potential, rather than them thinking that you're doing this because you're trying to let go of me. So what is the optimal time frame for PIP? On a legal perspective, it should be typically 30 days minimum. Why? Because legally, you are supposed to give that employee the chance to really improve on himself, and 30 days is normally enough time for you to prove to show that you can fix your issues or you cannot fix your issues, and 30 days is sufficient time by standards of the law. So it could be 30, 60, or 90. But of course, if it's like a very menial error that you're trying to correct, 2 weeks may be enough, right? So, but of course, when you do that, you have to have a weekly or bi-weekly check-in with clear documented progress. And of course, when you're doing the PIP, of course you have your templates already, but for improvement purposes, because I've seen this pitfall all the time, of course, put the performance concern, like let's say area of concern, very, very specific. Put that current performance. Let's say there's delays in responses, and then what is the expected output. And then after that, you put your improvement goals and metrics. Okay, this is the goal. Let's say we need to improve your response time to clients. How do we measure it? Okay, 90% of responses within 24 hours. What is the deadline? Okay, and then what is the support provided? Weekly one-on-one coaching, access to trainings, mentorship, etc. And then check-in schedules. So, and then of course, after that, you have a final review date for a decision to become up. May it be, let's say, successful completion, and you're no longer placed on PIP and or an extension, or an escalation. Let's say, okay, you're now for termination. That's really the proper way to do a performance improvement plan. And please don't fall into the trap where you use this as as a way to let go of people, because chances are employees sniff it at the onset. PIP should really be, again, performance improvement, because you believe in their potential. So always turn it into a positive note.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Attorney Arlene. All right, we have one more question, and I'm hoping both could possibly answer. But how do we ensure that performance management doesn't become overly systematized or lose the human touch? So yeah, we can go with Abby first for this question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Honestly speaking, I don't really see that happening, because the whole idea of performance management is to actually connect people, whether it is about people writing and aligning their goals, or it is about ensuring that there's one-on-ones happening, or it is about giving each other reviews. You are actually connecting either peer or managers to their direct reports. I think one fear where it could be slightly, at the risk of becoming very sort of mechanical, is that if, everything is happening automatically, if all the goals are automatically created and not followed up, if, there are one-on-one points or talking points or calendars are created but not really actually followed through, or if there are performance reviews happening, but they are not really followed up with a manager and employee connect session, then there is a possibility. So I think as an HR, it's very important for us to go and make sure that these connections are actually happening. Managers are connecting regularly with their employees. HRBPs are able to go and connect it with their, their teams and the employees in their, in their business unit, as well as the leadership is also able to go and connect with their managers and leadership to understand, one, of course, about their engagement, and second, most importantly, what's stopping them to achieve the greatest. And I think that is the fundamental, that human connection is the fundamental that can prevent anything, whether it is AI, whether this is tools, whether this is automation, to make it all mechanical.
All right. To dovetail on that, I'd like to share a quote that I've always used for the longest time. And the quote goes like this: performance management loses its power when it becomes a process. It gains meaning when it becomes a conversation. And that's how you don't lose touch of the human aspect of things. So for me, it's always, the technical aspects of it should always be in the system, like processized, right? Because that's the whole point. You need to make your life easier. Don't need to do the heavy lifting. You don't need to do the reminders yourself to make the performance evaluation. Let the system do it for you. But of course, when you're now doing the conversations, you need to anchor on empathy and not on metrics. So I still believe that, like when, let's say after an employee evaluates himself and the manager evaluates the employee, they still need to go together and, and really talk about and have a conversation and a meaningful check-in on that's focused on growth and the well-being of the employee. So for example, like when they meet, it's not shouldn't be like just about the numbers, but really, okay, what are you proud of that you've done, during the past quarter? How do you feel, when you're stuck? I felt that you were stuck in this project. So how do you feel about that? And other than that, there's also a way to personalize feedback in the system. So we need to avoid generic performance summaries, and we need to acknowledge individual strengths, contributions, in context, because it builds trust and performance or psychological safety, as I mentioned earlier. And another thing is really, again, in performance management, you always include L&D, you always include engagement, and you always include satisfaction, right? So celebrate the small wins, celebrate the big wins. So create real-time shout outs, or let's say peer recognition, milestone moments that can be shared not only between the two parties, but also across the organization. So that's a very effective thing, right? When you're doing, let's say, kudos board. We have that in Sprout, actually. When you have the kudos board, let's say with another employee, it creates a unique story about, their performance management that is really like linked to how they will connect to the organization. And lastly, of course, you need to design with inclusion in mind. Like, you need to adopt performance processes for diverse work styles and for different cultures, because people don't grow. Again, people don't grow from ratings, they grow from relationships. So keep the humanity in the performance, and the performance will follow.
All right. Thank you so much, Abby and Attorney Arlene. So that wraps up the Q&A part. That's all our questions for today. So truly an inspiring session from both Attorney Arlene and Abby. And we've explored the future of AI in HR, dove into data-driven engagement, and got practical tips to elevate talent strategies in 2025. I would like to thank our speakers once again, Abhinav Chug and Attorney Arlene De Castro, for sharing their expertise. And thank you to everyone who joined us live. We hope you leave today with actionable ideas and renewed excitement for the future of performance management. Thank you everyone for joining, and have a happy Tuesday.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed. You have been a lovely audience. Thanks,
Thank you,
Paulo.
everyone.
Thanks, Attorney Arlene.
Thanks
Thank you,
everyone.
Abhinav.
Have a good day.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.